Hi, everybody. It's Rita from Rita Reads and Talks About Books While Putting on Makeup. And I'm here to talk to you about a great book I read this week. I got to tell you, this week it was hard to choose because I read three really good books. But I decided to go with an old friend of mine's book, a book by Stephen King. Now, those of you who know me know I'm kind of unlucky in love. I'm just getting ready to celebrate the 2-year anniversary of my second divorce. So obviously, I don't have much stick to itness when it comes to long-term relationships with spouses. But there are two men in my life who've been constants, and I will never, never, ever part with. One is Bruce Springsteen, the one and true only love of my life. I love you, boss. You're my favorite boss. I'll always love you, baby. And the second is Stephen King, or as lifelong fans like me call him, Uncle Stevie. I've read almost everything Stephen King has written, and that means I've read the great, the good, and the kind of okay. And this book falls into the really good, not the great, but not the kind of okay. It's really good, and I recommend you read it. Now, I'm going to recommend you read it for a couple reasons. One is it goes back to a form that he writes in that I think is his best. It's short form fiction. Although short form for Stephen King still means it's like 300 pages. But have you ever seen his books? Most of them are like this thick. It's ridiculous. Come on, Uncle Stevie. Nobody has time to read all that. But this book called, what was it called? It was called Later. Is a shorter book. It's like a normal novel, and so you can pick it up. I read it in a day, and so that's kind of a perk when it comes to Stephen. The other thing that's great about him, if you have read him in the past, then you see like lots of his other stories and characters. They all weave right in, and that's always nice. It's like going home or talking with an old friend, and I like that too. So anyway, this book, Later, is about a boy, like a lot of his books are. They are coming of age stories, where kids who are different than the rest of us, than the rest of the pack, are special or have some gift or curse, as it may be, learn to navigate life. Sometimes they have an adult who can help guide them, and sometimes they don't. And have to deal with generally good and evil in the balance. And I think they're not so different from other coming of age books, except that they draw out the tensions and crises in more vivid colors. And as obviously he writes in the horror genre, so you're dealing with demons instead of bullies and breakups. You're dealing with otherworldly creatures. So this book starts with Jamie and his mama, whose name is Liz, and they live in Manhattan, or on Manhattan. It's an island. I never know what you say. And Jamie's mom is a copy editor or a publisher. She owns her own publishing corporation. And she and Jamie, and Liz has a girlfriend. No, that's right. Okay, his mom's name isn't Liz. I'm sorry. It's Tia. His mother's girlfriend's name is Liz. So Liz basically lives with them and helps raise Jamie in the first half of the book, and that's relevant to the story. So anyway, they live in Manhattan, and they have a really nice life together, all of them. They're on the island, except that there's something quite unusual about little Jamie. Jamie, turns out, has a special gift or curse, whatever you want to call it. He can see the recently departed or dead people. So when somebody dies, and they've recently died, we find out in this book that a recently dead person kind of hangs around the place they died for a while, and trying to get their bearings after they died, I guess, and hangs around there. And they're just in the same clothes they were in when they died, and they have the same injuries when they died, and they just hang around there. And it turns out that Jamie can see them, babies can see them, and dogs can see them, but that's it. And Jamie has the extra added gift of being able to talk to them. And interestingly, the recent dead have the inability to lie. So if he asks them a question, he has to tell them the truth, or that's at least what he's figured from it. So, mostly he says he introduces his skill by saying, "Yeah, I see dead people, but not like in that movie with Bruce Willis in the 80s." So, Stephen King tips his hat at what was the name of that movie? What was the name of that movie? You know the one where he goes, "I see dead people." What the hell was the name of that movie? Oh, I can't remember. All right, in any event, that's the premise of the story. So, when Jamie's mom finds out he has this weirdo skill or talent or gift or whatever you want to call it, she's like, "Hey buddy, let's keep that to ourselves. That's not something you want to spread around, because not only will people think you're weird, but you never know what people can try and capitalize and how they'll try and use you. So let's keep that to yourself," which I'm going to tell you right now, if you have ever read other Stephen King books, for example, Firestarter, or the more recent The Institute, then you will know that if you live in Stephen King's world, the government will get up on you if you have those skills. They will take you away and they will make you into an elite fighter. You don't want anyone to know you have those skills. Hide them. So that's probably why you don't know that your neighbors, or you don't know anyone who has those skills, because they're all hiding them. So in any event, Jamie says, "Okay, Mom," and he keeps it quiet. So only him and Liz and the mom know. Well, he gets to be real good friends with his neighbor, who we'll call the professor. Why will we call him that? Well, because that's what they call him in the book. So anyway, he and the professor become good friends, and he ends up telling the professor, because he's got to have an outlet. Come on, the kid can't just talk to his mama about everything. He has to have an outlet. So he talks to the professor about it, and the professor believes him, and they research it and they talk about all different things, and it's really good relationship, real helpful for Jamie. Well, what happens is the mom, who again is a copy editor, she gets into financial trouble because she invests all her money with like a Bernie Madoff kind of guy, who ends up taking her for everything she has. No money at all left in the bank. And so now they have to move out of their Manhattan place, and they have to move to on who knows, the squalor of Staten Island. I don't know where they move, but they have to move someplace that's not all fancy Manhattan, and she's worried about her life, and they have to adjust down. So now she tells her son, "Okay, something's got to happen. This guy just died. He was just about to publish his last book in this amazing series. He writes a series of books. It kind of sounds like an James R. Martin kind of guy, the guy who wrote that series that got turned into Game of Thrones, whatever. And so she says, "We got to go. He just died. We got to go to his house. You got to talk to this dead guy, because I have to know what's happened in this final book, because I'm going to write it. I've been editing him forever. I can write it. I can capture his style. I have to find out what his last book, what was going to happen in the sequel, because if it doesn't get published, we're going to be in financial ruin." So the kid's like, "Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh my God, Mom, don't make me do that." Mom's like, "You're doing it. We have to. This is for the good of the family." So the kid goes and does it. So he talks to the dead author and gets the story. The dead author tells it to the kid tells it to the mom transcribes it, they sell it. It turns out to be the best book ever in the series, because it turns out the mom's an even better writer. The author had great ideas, but the mom's a better writer. So they sell the book and makes them a bunch of money, and everything's good financially again. So that's all fine. But then what happens is, as time goes by, the girlfriend of the mom, Liz, she started out to be, kind of a slightly dirty cop, but not really bad, a little bit on the take. But she starts to get addicted to drugs and drink too much. And so Tia, Jamie's mom, kicks her out and says, "Listen, my kid comes first. You can't live with us anymore. You got to go." So Liz's life spirals downhill real quick, and before you know it, she's drug-addled and really falling apart, and she's going to lose her job on the force, and it's just terrible. Well, meanwhile, in the city, there's a mad bomber, kind of like the Unabomber. His name is Thumper, and Thumper is running around putting pipe bombs all over town and tearing people's limbs off and hurting people and killing people, and it's just horrible. So Thumper, who's just on the verge of getting caught, decides the way he's going to evade the police is by setting one last big bomb off, because that's what people like him do, even in real life, as we know. He's going to set one last big bomb off, and then he's going to kill himself. That's how he's just going to go out with a bang. And so he always says when he sets his bomb off, he always leaves a note at the site that says, "Did you like my work? Wait till you see what's coming next." So he kills himself, and then he leaves a note that says, "Did you like my work? Wait till you see what's coming next." So Liz, the dirty cop, wants to get back in with her precinct. So she tells Jamie, she comes and gets him after school and takes him against his will. The mom would not be happy with this. Takes him and says, "You're coming with me. Thumper just died. You're going to go talk to this crazy dude and figure out where he put that next bomb, and I'm going to be here and get my job back at the cop shop." So the kid has no choice but to go, because she kidnaps him. So she takes him down and he talks to Thumper. Now, Thumper is not like anybody else the kids met who's dead, because Thumper was evil before he died. That's different from anyone else the kids talked to who is recently dead. So remember I said the dead have to tell you the truth? Well, when he asked Thumper to tell him where he set that last bomb, Thumper says, "I don't want to tell you." And then the lights go off in the park where they're at, and everything gets really freaky. But he has to tell him, because that's the rule of the supernatural in this book. But something clearly freaky happened, right? Well, he does tell him, and the kid tells Liz, and Liz sends him back to his house. They catch Thumper, and unfortunately Liz doesn't really get her job back because she's too far gone by that point, and the cops aren't going to let a drug addict, get her credentials back or anything. But they do catch Thumper. I mean, they do stop the bomb from going off, so that's a good thing. But because, something was weird about that ghost, different than any of the other dead people he'd seen before. So unfortunately, after Jamie has that interaction with him, he starts seeing that guy. He starts seeing Thumper everywhere. And Thumper knows things about him, and that's never happened before. The ghosts always just go peacefully into the afterworld. So he's really freaking out. Doesn't know what's going on, goes and talks to the professor. The professor does some research on it and says, I think, unfortunately, a demon might have gotten that one, and now that demon's following you around. So you got to have a fight with the demon and let him know who's the boss. Basically, you got to make that demon your bitch. And if you make the demon your bitch, then you win, and all's well. So the kid's got to suck up all his courage and has a big fight with the demon and wins and does, he's a strong kid, and he makes the demon his bitch, I'm not going to tell you how, but it's a cool scene. Well, everything's fine for a while, but he says, "I'll never summon that demon again. I'm never going to summon, even though I own him, I'm never going to summon him," because, you don't want to play around with the devil. Remember I told you about that book, The Return, and I said that same thing. In books, people are always like, the devil, or in Addie LaRue too, like, "I think I can handle it." You can't handle it, okay? Never make a deal with the devil. There's no deal you can make that the devil won't break. It just seems insane to me in books that's a thing that keeps happening, because who would do it in real life? Nobody. Come on. So anyway, years later, Liz comes back, and I can't tell you what she wants the boy to do, but it's horrible. She wants the boy to do something for her so she can make a lot of money, run away, and start a new life. So she takes him on one of her she kidnaps him again and takes him on one of her nut job tricks. She has a wackadoo plan that's going to involve him talking to the dead and getting her a whole bunch of drugs that she can sell and make money with. Long story short, doesn't go as she plans. Short story longer, he does end up having to summon that demon. He's safe that time, and the book ends. Now, I will tell you that the book is not It does feel a little bit unfinished, but it's a really good read. And again, it's short and it brings you back into Uncle Stevie's world in a way that's wonderful and familiar. And I highly recommend it. So if you like horror, you like to be a little scared, but not too scared. If you like mystery, and if you like to be immersed in stories of kids who are transformed and face their fears and come out on top, then I read Stephen King in general, and this one called Later in specific. Thanks so much for joining me today. Happy reading, happy makeup putting on, happy spring. I love you and I like you. Bye bye.